Hoy conoceremos a la legaltech alemana Lexemo y concretamente a su software I, herramienta no-code de automatización legal creada para profesionales del sector jurídico y fíjate que te permite generar contratos, procesos de trabajo complejos y respuestas a solicitudes recurrentes. Todo lo veremos, esperamos verlo además en una pequeña demo de manera sencilla. Cristina, ¿cómo estás? Muchas gracias por vuestro tiempo.
Hola José, muchas gracias a vosotros por interesaros por I.
Oye, tenía una duda, a ver si me puedes solucionar.
Sí.
¿Por qué consideráis a vuestra herramienta I como una herramienta no-code? A ver, muchas veces el no-code se convierte en una etiqueta más de marketing que de otra cosa, ¿no? Realmente, detrás de no-code está muy vinculado a la usabilidad, es decir, al uso de ciertas plataformas pensadas para usuarios que no tienen ningún conocimiento de programación, ¿no? Y nos interesa mucho lo que nos digas porque tú además en Lexemo eres experta en usabilidad, en legal design, etcétera, ¿no?
Exactamente. Entonces, consideramos que I es una herramienta no code porque está pensada, está diseñada pensando en esos usuarios que precisamente no tienen conocimiento de código o de tecnología. Entonces, al fin y al cabo, nuestro objetivo desde Lexemo con esta herramienta es democratizar el acceso a la automatización legal, ¿no? Entonces, por este motivo, I cuenta con una interfaz visual e intuitiva que permite a los expertos del campo legal generar sus propias aplicaciones legales simplemente insertando y uniendo elementos en un lienzo. Entonces, el diseño de la aplicación se ha realizado pensando en que el usuario pueda trabajar creando su aplicación de manera visual e intuitiva y tan solo haciendo clic en elementos como podrían ser cuadros de texto, desplegables, sectores de fecha o elementos lógicos, entre otros. Entonces, con estos elementos, sin tener que escribir ni una sola línea de código, podrían crear su propia aplicación legal, ¿no? Pues teniendo todo esto en cuenta, es por lo que hemos creado una herramienta para que cualquier abogado o experto en el campo legal, como decía, pueda crear herramientas digitales sin la necesidad de tener un desarrollador trabajando al lado.
Cristina, ¿vuestra herramienta ahí está aterrizando mejor en despachos de firmas legales o en asesorías jurídicas de empresa?
Vale, precisamente y está diseñada para tener cabida tanto en despachos como en departamentos legales, ¿no? La versatilidad de la aplicación permite que se adapte a las necesidades tanto de grandes empresas con procesos de trabajo muy repetitivos, por ejemplo, como en bufetes de cualquier tamaño. Entonces, en el caso de grandes empresas con departamentos legales internos, con I se puede automatizar muchos tipos de procesos, incluyendo aquellos que requieren aprobación o colaboración interna. Al final, lo que tratamos es de ayudar a proporcionar servicios jurídicos internos mejores, más rápidos y, sobre todo, de forma digital. Mientras que, por ejemplo, para bufetes de abogados, la herramienta no es que solamente permita automatizar procesos, sino que también facilita la creación de herramientas de consulta personalizadas para los clientes. Los abogados en este caso podrían ofrecer lo que podemos llamar autoservicios jurídicos a sus clientes y que sería como un asesoramiento legal disponible 24/7, ¿no? Así que por estos motivos podemos decir que I es adecuado tanto para bufetes de abogados como para departamentos legales.
Cristina, nos acompaña María Romero, que es nuestra compi en prácticas, estudiante de Derecho de la Rey Juan Carlos. María, ¿qué te parece esta herramienta? ¿Te mola?
Sí, yo por lo que he estado viendo estos días atrás, me parece muy interesante y que puede tener un uso muy bueno, pues lo que ha dicho Cristina, tanto en los departamentos jurídicos de las empresas, de compliance, que puede ser mi futuro campo, y en los despachos. Así que veremos. Espero que le vaya muy bien. And now, hi Pascal, I'm glad to make your acquaintance. First of all, how did you come up with Lexemo?
Well, Lexemo, we founded Lexemo a couple of years ago. I was back then a partner in an international law firm in Frankfurt. I was working for Clifford Chance before, and then I was partner at Simmons & Simmons. And a friend of mine, my co-founder and CTO, he was just applying at a job at Google. But luckily for me or for us, he got rejected at the last round. So Olaf got rejected, and then we met and we said, okay, now is maybe the right time to combine forces, where his expertise in IT and my expertise in law, to found Lexemo. And the reason was I always was a kind of a tech person, so I like to use tools, but I'm not a coder, and I cannot write code, but I'm very kind of a tech interested person, and we said we need to kind of help lawyers with tools because now, and after a couple of years in that field, comparing to other fields like fintechs, for example. Mm-hmm. We still have some improvements to make in the legal field when it comes to technology. So that was the main motivation, to build tools for legal solutions.
Okay. And how is the deployment of legaltech in Germany? Is it already settled in there, or like here in Spain? Yeah. I
mean, in Germany, it picked up. It picked up quite a lot in the last, I would say, couple of years. I mean, honestly, when I was back in the law firm, for some law firms, when they talk about technology, they said, yes, but we use already Microsoft Outlook and Microsoft Word. But I mean, that's just not the legal tech tools we are talking about. But I think what is now rapidly increasing the acceptance of legal tech, and everyone knows that it's going to be important, is especially the rise of the large language models. So the rise of AI being in the creating content, creating text. That is, for us lawyers, it's a very easy kind of use case to deal with, and to see how helpful it can be. However, it's always and this is also something we focus on, the combination of this AI part of the large language model and the if this then that rule-based approach, which is still, for I think 80% of the tools our customers digitize, legal service they digitize, are just rule-based and not based on AI output.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and would you be able to give us a quick synopsis of Eve's background and the purpose that it has, like as if it was an elevator pitch?
Sure. So the problem is always, when it comes to innovation in the legal field, or to digitize legal services, you have, on one hand, you have the legal expert, so the lawyer. He has all the domain knowledge. And in order to convert this knowledge into a digital product, which we all want to do, because the clients expect that we become more digital, that we offer digital solutions. But this transition, you always normally need a developer and a sophisticated IT department, which then increases the costs a lot. So you could go to a developer and say, okay, I have this and that use case, build me a digital application. You can do that, but every iteration, you need to ask the developer again. And this is where these no-code tools, and we're not the only one there on the market. I think this is where the no-code tools give the biggest advantage, because then you can enable the domain expert, the lawyer, to build their own digital products. So you kind of cut out the in-between, developer part, and these standardized tools can be built and maintained by the domain expert, the lawyer itself. So this is a very important part of E and our absolute core focus feature. Now, with the rise of the large language models, we included that, which makes it even more powerful, because now you have on the one hand, you have the if this then that rule-based approach, which you can build a decision tree, and then you can kind of paint out your question and your legal service. But this you can spice up and include with the power of AI and the generative AI to use and leverage the large language models. Mm-hmm. And the combination of this just opens a huge amount of use cases for lawyers.
Okay, it's very interesting. Finally, could you give us some examples such as tasks or how the processes can save the legal departments or law firms time? Because
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So when I talk to new customers and we do the onboarding, it's an interesting kind of question and answer sometimes, because a lot of lawyers they tend to kind of want to automate and digitalize everything, right? But I have to calm them down a little bit, saying that you need to invest some time in order to identify the right processes to digitize. So you need a certain amount of occurrences in order to make the effort to digitize the tool, make the effort as a valuable effort. So a good example is always, and that's true for law firms and for in-house legal departments, is the use of so-called legal self-services. So that's, I think, Cristina mentioned it also before, this approach where you can access, or you can provide your clients with a 24/7 approachable tool, like an NDA or an employment contract or any kind of standardized contract, where the interaction of the lawyer normally is pretty standard and pretty kind of not so sophisticated. The cool part is then in these tools, when you create these legal services, they are completely automated, but obviously it's not always so easy with the yes and no answer when it comes to law, because there is a lot of it depends on in between. But the cool part is then you can identify those kind of occurrences where it's not a clear yes and no answer, and you in the process you redirect that via email to a lawyer who's then picking up the phone and clarifying the more complex questions. So it's also what I'm also saying all the time, we're not replacing lawyers. Mm-hmm. We just make it easier for them and make their business more scalable. Mm-hmm. And that is the self-service part, but it's also about risk analysis. So we have a large law firm. They built a risk analysis for their client. It's a kind of a German-based tax question. Depending in Germany, there is a legal risk that when you hire a freelancer, that it's not for tax purposes not accounted as a freelancer, but rather than an employee, which has a variety of tax consequences. Mm-hmm. And there is some case law, what criteria need to be met in order to be a valid freelancer, in order to get the tax benefits. And what they did, they developed a questionnaire with, I think, 35 or so questions, which need to be answered by the client hiring that freelancer. And they provided for every question a kind of a scoring system behind. So the answer to that question adds up to a score, and when it reaches a certain threshold, there is a low risk, medium risk, or high risk of the tax of the tax risk overall. And this is then shown in a nice dashboard, so you can see actually what are the actual risks of that company when it comes to hiring freelancers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and so as to make it more visual for people who are watching us, would you be able to show us a demo about it?
Sure, glad to do that. Let me just quickly share my screen. So what I have here, and this is the back end. So you see when you build a legal bot, And I have a very simple but very powerful task here. So here I have a node where the user in the front end can upload a file. And then I have what we call the so-called AI output node, where we defined a prompt here in order to extract information out of that PDF. And what we selected here, and we can do that dynamic, but for demonstration purposes, we have it kind of fixed where we want to extract the job title in a contract. And here, the last node is just to show in the front end the variable of the AI output. So that is everything you need. 3 nodes built in 2 minutes. And when you see that in the front end, it looks like this. And for demo purposes, I have this contract in German, which is an employment contract from a guy called Obi-Wan Kenobi working for Lexemo. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to upload this contract into the tool, and I click the extract information button. And remember, we said we want to have the job title. And now everything is processed, and we can now see then he's a Jedi Master, so it's hired as a Jedi Master. And when you look into the contract, you see that in German, but that's the actual information which is inside of the contract. Mm-hmm. And this is, I think, a very powerful example how easy it is to leverage the power of a large language model in a very simplistic no-code environment where you can, and this is a very simple example, but you can do a lot of complex stuff with that. You combine it with logical conditions and so on and so forth. So at the end, it's up to the lawyer's kind of fantasy, so to say, to implement use cases. But this is a good example how easy and fast it is to build an data extraction bot, which before large language models, you would have needed quite a lot of data sets and training and deployment of a model. So that was the fastest demo I did in my life.
Yeah, it's definitely really useful. I think it could also be useful for students too. Absolutely.
Well, that's good that you mentioned that. We cooperate with a university in Frankfurt where the students in their master degree, so there is in the Frankfurt University of Applied Sciences, they do a master degrees in legal tech. Mm-hmm. And part of that is actually building a digital application with our tool. So that was really interesting because they came up, I can tell that they came up with a decision tree, whether or not a company building a digital tool falls under the new AI Act of the EU. And that was really, really interesting to see how the students gonna use that to build a valuable digital product.
It's very useful, yeah, definitely. I think I would use it to my final degree activities.
Very good.
Chema, no se te oye. Tienes el micrófono.
Qué lástima. Thank you very much, Pascal. Your cap is very, very cool. We like it. We like it.
Okay, I promise you, I'm gonna bring you a cap when we see you in Madrid.
Cristina, ¿habéis puesto el foco en el mercado español para vuestra herramienta? Si es así, ¿por qué? Quiero decir, ¿por qué? ¿Qué veis en el mercado español actualmente legal?
Pues sí, la verdad es que estamos muy interesados en entrar en el mercado español, la verdad. Y bueno, ¿por qué? Pues en realidad porque vemos que hay una creciente demanda y oportunidad en el sector legal en España. Además, creemos que, bueno, y es una herramienta muy versátil e innovadora, ¿no? Y creemos que se ajusta muy bien a esta corriente de innovación tecnológica que se vive en España actualmente. Y queremos hacer llegar la herramienta precisamente por eso, porque ofrece una gran flexibilidad para adaptarse a diferentes marcos legales y regulaciones, por lo que creemos que es perfecta para integrarse sin problema en el contexto legal en España.